Yeah, I know. Everyone, so glad to see the crowd. Can hardly wait to get things started. So anyway, I call the meeting to order, and the time is 6:30, and we'll retire into executive session. The time is 6:43. We're out of executive session. I call the time on the work session at the same, and we'll convene back in the back for the work session. Everyone is free to join us if they choose.
She's putting on the T-shirt.
Okay, very good. Well, she can. I mean, yeah, I know. Hey,
Look, you've already.
it's 7:30. Yeah, that's right. It's 7:30. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. All right. The time is 7:30, and I call the meeting to order. And this evening, we have giving our invocation, Pastor Chad Kettler from Grace Point. Chad, would you like to come up and give the invitation? Everyone remain standing after the invocation for the pledge.
Thank you. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name. All good gifts are from you and through you and to you. Thank you for our city. Thank you for every person in this room and their families and the riches of your grace that you have poured upon us and that you continue to pour upon us for no other reason than that you are good. We thank you for our council, our mayor, our privileges we have, our first responders. We thank you so much for everything you've given to us. Guide us into what is good and right and true. Guide us into your will. Thank you most of all for your Son, the Lord Jesus Christ, who was crucified and raised from the dead. We pray in his name. Amen.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to the council meeting. In case you didn't notice, I'm not Karen Hunt, the mayor. I am Cliff Long, Place 1 on the city council, and I am the mayor pro tem. So when the mayor is out of pocket or out of the city, I'm responsible for the meeting. And so God help us all as we move forward in the meeting. By the way, helping us this evening is Ashley Owens down here at the end. She is serving as the secretary for this meeting. For those of you that have been to the P&Z meetings, Ashley also serves as the secretary for those events. But I guess she's trying to move up, and so we'll see how it goes. So there's two of us. So there's two of us on the dais that are sort of freshmen in this deal. So we'll see what happens. Right. Somewhere in here is something I'm supposed to read. I got them. All right, we have two proclamations this evening, and the first proclamation is it's a proclamation regarding National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So I'll go down to in front, and the Pink Souls in motion can join me, and I'll read the proclamation to them. Okay, is it on? Fantastic. I follow instructions very well. Okay, council. Consider the following proposition. Whereas National Breast Cancer Awareness Month educates women about the importance of early detection for breast cancer, and whereas since the inception of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, mammographies used have doubled the breast cancer death rates decline. Whereas many women still do not utilize mammographies at regular intervals, whereas in recognition of the fact that the mammographies in the best available methods is the best methods for detecting breast changes that may be cancer long before physical symptoms can be seen or felt. And whereas breast cancer deaths could decline further if all women age 40 and older receive mammograms at regular intervals. Now, therefore, I, Karen Selbo Hunt, Mayor of the City of Coppell, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2018 as National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Coppell to be affixed this 9th day of October 2018. Ladies, council, what are your wishes? All right.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Long. Great job. For those of you in the audience that saw me out there begging for a shirt and talking to this amazing team who we are truly honored to have them in our community, and they work so hard for breast cancer awareness. I am a 5-year breast cancer survivor, and now have a team because I will be walking. We will all be walking on November 2nd through 4th. So we will be walking 60 miles. With that said, I move to approve a proclamation naming the month of October National Breast Cancer Awareness Month and authorizing the mayor to sign.
Hinojosa Smith, Mays. Are you voting? Are you voting, sir? Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
I think she said it all, but
Well, just say ditto.
just to say one more thing, our team, this is a very small portion of our team. We have about 65 members this year. We've been as large as 105. This year, we were actually one of the first groups to be inducted into the Susan G. Komen Lifetime Commitment Circle, and that's for teams that have raised over $1 million in their lifetime, so we're very happy about that. One other thing that we've been able to do as we became our own nonprofit was to raise money to give grants to people who are going through any type of cancer, not just breast cancer, but all types of cancers. And to date, we just started that like 3 years ago, and we've been able to help 15 people, giving over $20,000. So we're looking to grow that program too. So thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem Long, I'd like to also thank you all for what you're doing, but I also like to point out the firefighters in the back supporting the Pink Souls group with their T-shirts and stuff. So thank you guys as being part of the support of this group. Thank you.
Okay. Chief, you're going to go on there? Chief Richardson. I have a second proclamation. Hopefully I can do better with this one than I did the previous proclamation. But second proclamation, and this is a proclamation for the firefighters in this week of fire safety. City Council, consider this proclamation. Whereas the city of Coppell, Texas is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting Coppell, and whereas Coppell residents who have planned and practiced at home fire escape plans are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire, and whereas Coppell first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education, and whereas the 2018 Fire Prevention Week theme, Look, Listen, Learn, Be Aware, Fire Can Happen Anywhere, effectively serves to remind us that we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire. Now, therefore, I, Karen Sebo Hunt, very unusual, Mayor of Coppell, do hereby proclaim October the 7th through the 13th, 2018 as Fire Prevention Week throughout this city, and I urge all of the people of Coppell to be aware of their surroundings, look for available ways out in the event of a fire or other emergency, respond when the smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building immediately, and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of Coppell Fire and Emergency Services during Fire Prevention Week 2018. In witness thereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Coppell to be affixed this 9th day of October 2018. Council. Ms. Yingling.
I just want to say, our firefighters go through a lot of training. Anytime, we have our training center right here at Station 3, and anytime I drive by, I know that there's a lot of work that's being done to trying to keep our community safe. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the proclamation naming the week of October 7th through the 13th, 2017 as Fire Prevention Week, and authorizing the mayor to sign.
Mr. Hill. Second. All in favor?
Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill, in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
Motion carries. Excellent. Chief? The proclamation, say a few words. Sir, thank you. Here's a mic.
Thank you very much. Well, good evening. Thank you for having us once again. I would just like to mention that fire prevention is a year-round activity. However, across the nation, the American Fire Service has set aside this week for us to highlight our programs. For us, it's going to take us over a month. We have a lot of programs that are scheduled primarily in the schools. Our clown troupe will be performing in front of over 3,000 students. We expect many more to come through Life Safety Park. So if you're interested in any of their activities there, feel free to visit the website to see all the activities that are going on. Thank you again for recognizing us, and we're going to continue our efforts throughout this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Absolutely. Just a second. Kevin? Kevin. I wanted to tell a little story about you and him same time. In 2004, we had a fire at our house. The first fireman that I met with the city was Kevin. He was big helmet on, It was, he really looked great. But before I met him, my wife met Tim, because Tim was going down the road and saw the fire and pulled in before my wife ever knew that the house was on fire. And so these two guys played an integral part in our introduction to the Coppell Fire Department back in 2004. Next item, item 8, is citizens' appearance. No one signed up, so we'll move to item 9. Item 9 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is routine in nature and generally enacted in one motion. These items have been previously approved through the budget or past council actions. Any item may be pulled and considered separately. Full descriptions available on the screen. Does anyone want to pull one of the items of the consent agenda? Then I will entertain a motion to approve. Here.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Move to approve item 9, consent agenda items A through F.
Smith. Second. Second. All in favor?
Hinojosa, Smith, Mays, Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. In favor, none opposed. Motion carries.
All right. Moving right along. Okay, item 10 is a continued public hearing from a previous meeting. Tonight, to help us out with this, and items 11 and 12 also, is Marcy Diamond, Assistant Director of Community Development and Planning for the city. Marcy?
Thank you. Okay, your first item, and again, is item 10, which is a continued public hearing. I'll read it into the record. It's to consider approval of PD 259R, SF7 and 9, Blackberry Farms. B, a zoning change request from PD 259 SF7 and 9 to PD 259R SF7 and 9 to revise the detailed plan and conditions to permit the development of 74 single-family lots and 9 common area lots on 54.8 acres of land located south side of Sandy Lake Road, approximately 750 feet northeast of Starleaf Road Extended, at the request of Denton Creek Land Company Limited and Blackberry Farms Limited, being represented by Lynn Cadlick and Associates. Again, this request is, again, the applicant is requesting that this zoning be tabled one more time until November 13th. There have been outstanding issues related to creek stabilization and drainage. It's my understanding from the Director of Public Works that we're cautiously optimistic that we should be able to hear this item on November 13th. Staff will be sending out notices to all property owners within 200 and 800 feet because it's been tabled for so many times. So we'll send out about 150 notices tomorrow if you all table it till November. I'd be happy answering questions that you may have.
Council? Wes?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I move to continue the public hearing until November 13th.
Is there a second? Yingling, seconds. All in favor?
Hinojosa, Smith, Mays, Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. In favor, none opposed. Motion carries.
Okay. Okay.
Item 11 is a public hearing. And I will read the information, Marcy, about the public hearing. Public hearings. Public hearings are limited to 5 minutes per speaker and a maximum of 1 hour each for the proponents and the opponents of the item. That goes for this and the other public hearings as well. Okay. I open the public hearing. There's no one to speak. Okay, I'll turn it over to the council then. Council. Marcy.
Okay, let me read the caption in the record. This is to consider approval of PD 285 R2C. It's for Andy's Frozen Custard to attach a detailed site plan for a 1,160 square foot drive-through and walk-up restaurant with no outdoor seating on 1.21 acres of property located on Sandy Lake Road, west of Denton Tap, address being 180 West Sandy Lake Road, at the request of LG 214 Woodside Coppell LLC, being represented by Stephen McGurk, Leon Coppell Group. Again, this is actually on this side. This is the property in question at this point, vacant piece of land. Here is a area map that shows where this property is and related to some things that we all know. You have, the Sprout Shopping Center and the brand new shopping center that was recently constructed. And Andy's will be in that outlet right at the corner. What they're asking for, again, is a 1,160 square foot drive-through and walk-up restaurant with no outdoor seating. Actually, the rear one-third of this building will be mechanical equipment, but they do have stacking for 9 cars. Our ordinance requires a minimum of stacking for 5 cars, but they are showing 9 cars with actually additional queuing available so that we will not have a conflict of them backing up on the street. They are providing for a pedestrian walkway from Sandy Lake Road out north so to connect up with the existing shopping center. The site plan, about 38, almost 40% of their lot will be landscaped areas. Much of that is the 42-foot wide landscape buffer strip along the west property line. Again, from a technical standpoint, it meets all of our technical requirements. Little issue when they first walked in the door was the typical Andes, and the applicant will spend a little more time on this. This is some shots of their existing facilities, not only in Texas but in Missouri. They have some key branding features. However, in the city of Coppell, it's very important that buildings are built do have some architectural compatibility. Again, this is sitting right outside of a brand new center, and so it not detracting but enhancing the center is very important. So initially, when they came in to see us back in, I think it was January, this was one of their first prototypes that we discussed. What's before you this evening is their current request, which is basically a compromise from where they started to meet our standards. However, even with this compromise, there's several variances that do need to be granted to our general standards. The first being that we're allowing for 50% of the front facade to be, over 50% to be glass. This is part of their function and how they function, especially with the walk-up, and again, the applicant will spend a little more time on that. We're also allowing for a window sign. Per our sign ordinance, because they only have 38 feet of frontage, they could only have 38 feet of signs. So what they've chosen to do is do their attached signs on the east and west side of the building, but we are allowing for a 42 square foot sign that's basically right off from the window, but basically a window sign to allow for their branding. The last thing is that right now their canopy, they are asking for a fully shielded indirect lighting. However, they're asking for it to be basically red and silver stripe. Staff can't support that if it ends up just being like a silver or solid stripe. The concern being once you start striping thing, it can be a sign. And again, we've stretched our sign definition to allow for the window sign. This additional canopy staff is not comfortable with, especially with, we've been very good on gas canopies, not having additional striping on those. Another variance is we're allowing or recommending that they be allowed to reface the existing Woodward Village sign. Obviously, it does need a little uplift. The reason that it is a variance is because the sign does not meet our setback requirements. It's my understanding that they are, another option would be for them to actually remove this sign and then do their own monument sign, which is conforming with their ordinance, which is also fine with us. But at this point, they're asking to reface that existing sign. Staff feels that this is a reasonable compromise to allow for their corporate branding while ensuring compatibility with the abutting shopping center and our community standards. We did send out 8 notices within 200 feet and 98 notices between 201 and 800 feet, and staff received no written or actually phone call responses to that. And of course, there's a sign up on the property also. So the Plan Commission unanimously did recommend approval of the PD 285 Andy's Frozen Custard, subject to the following conditions. The first 5 conditions are actually PD conditions that will have to be part of the ordinance, which is allowing for the over 50% of the front facade being glass, refacing the existing monument sign, allowing for the window sign, allowing for the fully shielded indirect fascia lighting if it is silver or gray in color, not red striped, and then allow of approval of the landscape plan, which provides for a deficiency in the perimeter landscaping on the east and the north, but obviously compensating along the west property line. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have. The applicant is in the audience and also has a presentation for you.
Mayor Pro Tem. I'd like to make a comment. So going back to the, could you go back to the graphic with you talked about the striping? So this particular piece of land sits off the beaten path a little bit. And I know that we had some discussion with the Chicken Express. And we were, we want our incoming businesses to be successful here. And I think having that red, I don't have a problem with it. We were okay with the Chicken Express doing some sort of red color there. I want to see this come in and be successful, and I think having a little bit of when you're going down the street on Denton Tap Road, if you see a little bit of that red, I think it would be a little more eye-grabbing. I don't think there's an awful lot of red there, but that's just my opinion. And I just kind of wanted to throw that out there.
Yep. Ashley, did anyone sign up? Okay. The applicants in the audience?
Good evening, Council. My name is Stephen McGurk with Leon Capital Group, 3500 Maple Avenue, Suite 1600, Dallas, Texas. I am the head of entitlements at Leon Capital Group, who's the applicant on this project and the landlord and overall owner of the shopping center, Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Woodside Village. I'm going to keep this real short and sweet and then hand it off to the Andes team. But we've just got them here to give you a little bit more information about their branding and just about their concept in general. And I just wanted to take a moment to also just, commend city staff. It's been a long process, but, Marcy, Matt Steer, and the rest of staff have been a pleasure to work with over the last, 10 plus months, to find a compromise that works for everyone. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to the Andes team.
Good evening, Council. My name is Aaron King. I'm with Andy's Frozen Custard, 211 East Water Street, Springfield, Missouri. As Marcy did at the planning and zoning meeting, she pretty much stole everything I had to say, so I'm going to end up kind of recapping that, but did want to take an opportunity to introduce you to who Andy's is and what we're about and give you a little bit of a history and where we are with the brand and the building that we have right now, just so you can have a little bit more context as you consider things. Andy's Frozen Custard was started in 1986 in Osage Beach, Missouri, at the Lake of the Ozarks, by John and Carol Kuntz. They named the facility after their son, Andy, who is the CFO of the company currently. Carol is still involved in the company on a regular basis and handles our Springfield stores and Joplin and kind of close to home market stuff, whereas Andy's focusing on the franchise and growing the business in other directions. That first store was a success in 1986, and by 1987 they decided to move the operations down to Springfield, Missouri. They had a decision to make: St. Louis, Kansas City, Springfield. So they headed southwest, where we now have 6 locations there, and our home offices are based there. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. We currently have, this slide says 63 locations open under construction throughout Missouri, Arkansas, Arizona, Colorado, Florida, Kansas, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and Illinois. That really needs to be 68. By the end of this month, we should have 68 stores open, including 2 new locations here in the DFW area. Arlington and Keller will both open up before the end of the month. That will make 5 corporate locations that we have in this market, and then there are 6 franchise locations that are also down in this market. Just some early concept designs. This is the store, Springfield, Missouri, on East Sunshine, the first store that was opened in 1987. Opened another store in 1990 on Campbell Avenue, also in Springfield. So you can see some building elements that are still part of our design today are a well-lit canopy. Most of our stores, where we can get it, we have neon lighting on the fascia. That's not something we're requesting here. It's expressly not allowed. And it's not the first time we've run into that, but we try to get that where we can, and most of the time we get some variation of that. Renovation project. This is that first store in Springfield, Missouri that was opened in 1987. We had a fire there and had to renovate that store, so we kind of upped the ante on the lighting and added 5 rows of neon on the fascia there. And in Springfield, we're kind of fortunate. We get to do kinds of things we don't get to do elsewhere. If we had a video of that, you could see that light trailing and going up and down, and there's a little show that goes with it. So obviously we won't get that here, but again, you can get a flavor for kind of lighting aspect and the bright patio and the warm atmosphere we're trying to create. More recent prototypical designs, which the building we're proposing for here and for what you see throughout most of this market, really kind of started with this store in Kansas City on Westport Road with the large canopy. You can see the neon lights there, exposed lights on the underside of the canopy, and the walk-up windows. Something I do want to back up and reiterate too, we don't have any dine-in component to our facility. It's drive-through and walk-up only. So we have an open patio on the outside, walk-up windows, which gets back to the need for the variance with the glazing and having more glass. That front of house area where you come and order the treat, you see the kids back there working, and it's a bit of a show. Bright red and white tile on the back wall. Some more signage on the back wall that's got Andy's, but that's kind of where you get to see the action happening. And so we want that connection between that patio and the customer and that area there. And if we had to meet the masonry requirement that is currently in the ordinance, I think we ended up, when we looked at it, we had just 3 little punched openings for the sliding windows, which just does not sell the brand and create the experience that we want to create. So what is up here are 2 things you've already seen. Number 1, the prototype design, and then the proposed design that we worked to get to with staff, as we've said, since January. Our typical prototype design would have what we call the blade wall with a sign and a large fiberglass cone on it, and that happens on each side of that blade wall. And our building design is kind of a throwback to that Route 66, drive-in diner kind of feel is what we're looking for. And so a lot of those elements you see there are kind of a new play on that. Obviously, with the sign ordinances here, the blade wall and that type of signage was not going to be allowed, so we backed off of that. And as Marcy said, are proposing 2 signs on each side of the building for our wall-mounted signs that meet the square footage requirement. And then we have the window sign in the front, which that area where that sign is at, that's where our 2 custard machines sit. So when you walk up that patio, you see the machines and the custard being made there. I've already touched on the fascia and the red banding. We would prefer, if it's allowable, to make those bands red. What you see there is and I'll get to a photo of a couple items to help clarify this, but it's a fully shielded light. So you don't see the light source. It's behind a shield, and we would like the opportunity, if we can, to make that shield red. As you've seen from the other photos, we would typically have that banding being fluorescent lights in a red and white pattern. In this case, it'll be an LED light that's just a white light behind that red shield. This is a mock-up of what we proposed, and actually we started conversations here for this location and developed this lighting option specifically for here because it was the first time we kind of run into the situation where we just couldn't get it to work with any of our other lighting options that we have for that fascia. As it turns out, this project kind of drug on and us getting things worked out, we ran into the same situation or similar in Arlington and Keller. So both those locations, we actually have this lighting scheme on it. It doesn't have the red banding, but what you see here is a mock-up that we prepared of kind of 3 different variations of what we tried to do. The one that's marked number 2 would be the variation that we're proposing here. The only difference would be to take the red band that you see on the lower number 3 and 4 option and make that number 2 a red color. This is actually a picture of Arlington under construction. This was actually several weeks ago, so it looks a lot better now considering we're opening in a few days. But you can kind of get a sense for that, the band that was on there. This is just a quick 30-second little video that hopefully kind of gives you a little bit of a sense of the experience we're trying to create. The building that we design and the elements that we have there, we aren't just trying to sell custard. We want people to come and have a good time. And so hopefully this kind of gives you a sense of the atmosphere that we create. Hopefully the music's playing because it's really boring if the music doesn't work. And then the final slide. Our tagline is Andy's makes it fun to be a kid for a while, so that's what we're trying to do, make it fun to be a kid for a while. With that, I can answer any questions you have to fill in any blanks.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Looks like y'all are already what Jimmy Johns is aspiring to be with the video there. I do have a question on the lighting. Could you go back to the page that had the 3 different options? So if I understand, this middle number 2 would just have a red band, but would it be backlit only with reflective lighting, or would it be transparent to the light?
It will. What you see in the picture to the right there, that's the lit up version. You don't see that light source at all. So you have the fascia, the hard surface, and then the shield is out here. That light is pointing back towards that fascia, so it's not pointing out towards the street or the parking lot. So it is reflecting off of
the background.
Yeah. Exactly.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you. In all my years on this dais, I've never put my personal interest above the city's, but I have to tell you, my lovely bride of 35 years said, "Don't come home if you don't vote for this." So I'm a little torn there. My only question, you guys have come a long way with your prototype, and I appreciate you being flexible to meet our city requirements. I'm kind of like Ms. Yingling, stuck on the red band. Can you go to the picture of what you did in Arlington? Help me understand that. That looked like a silver fascia.
It is.
And is that similar to what y'all have agreed to staff here?
Yes. It would be the same thing. I think what staff has recommended would be exactly what you see there, where it would just be the polished aluminum for the light shield. And we've shown the light shield being red. So you still have the polished aluminum main backdrop and just the banding.
So if I understand right, during the day it's silver, but at night you get the red glow?
Well, in this case, you would just get a white glow from the light because there is no red on this building.
On the face.
In your case, in this case, since we haven't done it yet, I would expect we'll get a little bit of a red glow from it, but the light isn't coming through that red shield at all, but you'll probably get some bounce light off of the red above and below those bands, so it would probably reflect a little bit red. But
I'm always torn between trying to make sure, again, as Ms. Yingling said, make sure that we're doing everything we can to help you be successful, and I know you put a lot of time into your brand, but also maintaining the standards and not setting a precedent, so next month we're talking to someone that said, well, look at Andy, so
fully understand.
That's the only thing I'm torn about. Welcome to town. We appreciate you all having interest in the community.
Thank you.
Councilman Hill.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So I had a question, actually several questions. That prototypical sign that had the blade wall, once you took the signage off of that in the initial concept, then that's why you got rid of the blade wall?
Yes.
Okay.
And the blade wall was actually developed to receive a sign.
Okay.
The Westport store that I showed you does not have that element on it.
Yeah.
And we had a location in Fayetteville, Arkansas, that was similar to Westport, a little bit of a variation. And we found that although we had a monument sign sitting out on the street that had a cone and some stuff with it, we had a fascia that had some light on it, not neon, but had a different lighting component that people were still missing us. And so they developed the blade wall to put a sign on it. And as soon as they did that at that location, the visibility just shot up, and we immediately saw people, being able to find us more easily. But
Can I
it's not
interject on that really quick? And my daughter goes to the University of Arkansas, so I've been to that one.
There you go.
And that's on a main street, so that's where my concern is. That's on a busy Martin Luther King Street.
Yeah.
And so this is one of those things I go back to. Let's, it's just, and I get where you're coming from, keeping the integrity of the. But I know that we have done something similar in the past for another fast food company. But this one, you're saying you had people have a problem finding it, but it was right there on the main drag.
People looking for us had a hard time finding it. We had I was told of a kitchen and equipment repair guy that was coming by, and he drove by it twice and couldn't see it. And he was trying to find us.
So I just wanted to go ahead. I'm sorry, Mark.
Okay, not a problem.
And obviously every location is going to be a little bit different, but we always try and grab whatever visibility we can. And,
Sure.
and signage is the way you get people's attention.
And I understand that massive Andy sign wouldn't comply with the requirements we have within the city. And I guess when you scaled it down to the size that you have on the proposed design, it just becomes dwarfed on that blade wall. Okay.
Yeah, it does.
So the next question, that red that we're seeing in this elevation here, on the proposed design, is that stucco?
Lower around the glazing, around the glass.
Yes.
Did we go? Yes, we've done stucco. We've also used a material called Nichiha, which is a fiber cement board that we can either get pre-finished red or paint red. So we've done either one of those. But if Matt, our architect, says yes, it's stucco, then it's stucco here. So.
Okay, then let me ask Ms. Diamond, that red, it's obviously facing west. Do we have anything in our maintenance ordinance that would require them to maintain that as it fades?
Yeah, our property maintenance code would require them to basically keep it up in a good condition. If it would fade, then they would have to comply.
Okay, that's just what I want to make sure. And then I think that you're just showing the glass as being kind of a reflective glass just for rendering purposes.
Correct.
But knowing that is due west and that all your glass faces due south, are you going to put a mirrored glass there?
No. What we do on the inside of the store is we will come back and put blinds in on the inside of that glass that work in with the design, and we typically will get the store set up and kind of figure out where we most need those things, but we'll add those in.
Okay, and just for the record, I'm not opposed to the red stripes, especially since they're opaque and they're really not going to be, light shining through them. So, to me, it's not a huge problem. Actually, I like your prototypical design much better, but that's a different story.
We can still talk. Maybe I'm all for working neon back into this if we can. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. First of all, thank you for choosing Coppell. We're really excited that you're coming. So I guess for clarification, when I'm not up here, I'm an IP attorney, so I completely get logo. I understand success can bear a lot on the logo and the look and feel of a particular location. It sounds to me, though, that you've had to tweak certain locations based on different criteria where you're going. And so I guess for clarification across the board, we've got a prototype type design that we've had to tweak. We have the proposed design, but help me understand. We've got this, we've got the red striping here. But when you showed a minute ago what they're doing in Arlington, that's we're doing like a happy medium between the two. Is that what we're doing?
I'm sorry to
No,
interrupt.
no, you're not. I guess help me understand where we are on what is staff saying okay to, and then you guys tell me what you would want within our parameters that would make you successful.
I believe what staff is supportive of is what you see there in that picture, which that's Arlington, and you can kind of see the subtle shadow lines, I guess, there of this shield that's on that fascia.
Okay.
That's what staff is supportive of. So it would be the same finish, a polished aluminum shield and a polished aluminum fascia. The only difference between that and what we would like to be able to do is take the shield that we have that hides the light and make that a red shield just on the outside. It wouldn't.
Okay.
The light wouldn't shine through that red. It's still going to be a solid piece that directs the light back towards the
So it's a
fascia, but
red
it would
shield.
add some color to that fascia.
Right. So red shielding, not red lighting. So
Correct.
we wouldn't have aluminum.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's what I just wanted to understand.
Unless we can go back to the neon, which somebody sounded like our.
Which I will say is kind of cool. I get that. But and there is, I mean, just like I guess all the council members that have expressed their thoughts and concerns. There's the happy medium of what we have worked hard on as a community and the integrity of the look and feel of Coppell, but yet there have been exceptions made from time to time, and we do want our businesses to be successful. And so I wanted to know if at the end of the day we were to side with staff on what we have in Arlington, would that still be okay?
Yes, because we're doing
Okay.
that.
And so-
We're doing that in two other locations right now.
Two other locations. So you're doing that in Arlington and
Keller. Keller, we
Keller
had
as well.
For similar, I don't remember the specifics in either of those about what the ordinance was, but we had an issue with the lighting on that fascia in both those locations as well.
So in that sense, okay, understood. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Councilmember Roden.
I think Councilmember Smith just asked my question. Thank you.
Councilmember West. Okay.
Ready for a motion?
Sure.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I move to close the public hearing and approve item number 11 with conditions, as stated.
Second. Okay. Councilmember Roden, second. All in favor?
Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
When do you open?
Well, we kind of got to get under construction first, and we got some permitting to take care of and all those kinds of
I
things.
think Mrs. Roden and Mrs. Mays are going to be first in line. So
What are we looking at on this one?
If things go well, maybe early summer.
Early, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This is to consider approval of PD 221 R9 R2 HC Homewood Suites, a joint zoning change request from PD 221 R9 R HC to PD 221 R9 R2 HC to amend the Plan Development District to attach a detailed site plan to allow a 129-room suite hotel on 3.024 acres of property located on Point West Boulevard, approximately 100 feet south of Dividend Drive, at the request of Trophy Lodging Limited, being represented by Travis Bouquet at the Bouquet Company. Okay, again, here's the property in question. You're all probably pretty familiar. We're at 635 and Beltline Road. Bless you. This is the Four Points Hotel. To the north of that is the True Hotel, and just to the north of that is tonight's request area, which is for Homewood Suites. Several years ago, we did approve a concept plan for this entire ownership, and again, the True Hotel was phase 1, future office was phase 3, and then phase 2 always anticipated to be a hotel. What's before you, again, is a 5-story hotel, 129 rooms, but it is a residence hotel. 30% of the site will be landscaped and meeting our requirements. In addition to that, they have over 4,000 square foot of other open areas like patio, pool, and game court. And because it's the same developers as the True Hotel, they have really used basically the same landscape design and tree count as the True Hotel. They're also providing, if you all remember, when we did the True Hotel right to the south, that's the 4 Points, which is a convention center or conference center. So there is a decomposed granite path that runs through their landscape area, so there is that pedestrian opportunity to go through the hotels to our meeting areas. This hotel complies or exceeds all requirement of our hotel ordinance in terms of room count and amenities, except for that one section 123018 subsection 2C, which does require that all residence hotel have not more than 22 units per acre. It's my understanding when we rewrote the hotel ordinance, this provision was put in for residence hotel in the event that these do become more permanent residents or and turn into apartments, then there would be sufficient land to provide for parking. A hotel parks basically one space per room, or obviously apartments are, I think, 2 or 2.5 per room. So under that ordinance, they're basically at 43 units per acre. To meet that 22 units per acre, they would basically could only do a hotel of 66 units. The applicant has provided some information support of this variance to that requirement, and it's also in your packet, but he will also be doing a presentation. Pass around. This is the color board. The Homewood Suites will meet, again, our masonry requirements, and they're using their dark brick pretty much speaks to the dark brick of the True Hotel. So it's, again, they all have their own branding, but there's some compatibility between the two. The signs will be compliant with the sign ordinance. They have revised them, and they appear to be compliant, but always keep that as a condition. We did send out 6 notices within 200 feet, and an additional 4 between 200 and 800 feet, and we received no responses. The Planning Commission did overrule staff's recommendation for denial. Staff did recommend denial for noncompliance of this one provision of the ordinance, and they did recommend approval. The approval was subject to the following conditions: that in the event City Council does grant a variance to that section, then we would have these 4 conditions. 1, that they would have to replat the property, provide necessary easements. That traffic impact analysis would be provided prior to plat to see if a deceleration lane would be required. That signs would be compliant with the sign ordinance, and then again our standard condition that there'll be additional conditions at the time of detail engineering and building permit review. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have, and then again the applicant does have a presentation for you.
Questions, anyone? All right. This is a public hearing, and I think we have one group or individual who has signed up.
Apologies, it's Mr. Naik, N-A-I-K. Okay. Would you like to come down and speak?
Do you want the app?
Hello, Council. My name is Suhas Naik. I'm with the 4 Points Hotel down the street from this location. Not so much an issue with what is being proposed. I think I just want to make it guess get it off my chest. I was here 3 years ago, I think around 1 o'clock in the morning, having this conversation. Originally, our intent at the 4 Points was to build 2 hotels, a extended stay hotel similar to the Homewood Suites, and a 4 Points by Sheraton. And at the time, because of this ordinance, we were denied. So I ended up having to discard the idea of building the extended stay hotel, which I thought was extremely feasible, and ended up having to build more units to the 4 Points that I guess over time it's been a challenge to fill rooms on weekends because there's just frankly too many rooms and not enough things happening on weekends. So the denial of this, I think the ordinance is in place for a reason. We're trying to, in the city, maintain good quality projects. And my fear is that if this application is passed, then what is to stop from many other extended stay hotels that are not necessarily the same quality as the Homewood Suites, but inferior qualities? And at what point do you all say this works, this doesn't work, this maybe works, this and that's my biggest concern, and I think that's where if the council can debate that and get comfortable with it, then I would be fine with that. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any other questions of them? I'll turn it over to the council.
I think the applicant has a presentation.
Oh, sorry. Guys, I didn't mean to carve you guys out. Say, hey, we're not even going to listen to you.
No problem at all. Mayor Pro Tem, fellow council members, my name is Travis Bousquet, 505 Simmons Street in Denton. I'm the applicant and also the civil engineer site planner for the project, and have had the benefit to work with Trophy Lodging on this project and also the True Hotel next door. As Marcy mentioned, we did keep the same design team together, so a lot of the components, a lot of the functionality, the cohesiveness of the access, pedestrians, and also vehicles have all been, because we've all been on the same team going forward and have worked with staff through the last couple of years, I guess, now on this. We, through our meetings with staff, a lot of the access, like I mentioned, the second driveway up to the north there, and continuing to the decomposed granite pathway on the eastern side. A lot of those types of things we've worked out and came to consensus on what would be a quality design for this property. In addition to the elevations, as Marcy mentioned, exceed all the requirements, and with the new hotel regulations, there was 3, amenities that were required. We're exceeding that as well. We're offering 4 amenities, which include the pool, a weight room fitness center, a sports a basketball court, and then also the outdoor plaza. The ownership group is here as well to kind of give a presentation, more information on Homewood Suites. But I'll remain up here as well from any type of site or landscaping type questions you may have afterwards. Thank you.
Hitesh Jariwala, 8601 Lindenwood Lane, Irving. I'm with the ownership. Just wanted to give you a brief overview of the kind of hotel that we're proposing. So we actually opened a Homewood Suites in Trophy Club August of 2016. So most of my presentation is based on our experience of operating that hotel for over 2 years. Okay, well, I thought I was going to see it here. So Homewood Suites is a Hilton brand hotel. Currently, there are over 450 Homewood Suites throughout America, Canada, and Mexico. and they have over 100 in pipeline. So soon there's going to be over 500 Homewood Suites in our system. Since 2000, Homewood Suites is considered an upscale, all-suite extended stay hotel. They've won 12 J.D. Power Awards. And last year in 2017, the Business Enterprise magazine rated it the number one upper scale all-suite hotel. So the picture that you see is our Homewood Suites and Trophy Club that we opened August of 2016. Obviously, that's a 4-story building because that was a wood frame building. But with the city of Coppell, if you recall, we were applying for the True, and it got changed from Type 3 to Type 2, where we had to go to metal and concrete. So it just made sense for us to do a 5-story for the True, and we're kind of doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing for the Homewood Suites in Coppell, and I believe that we have the board that shows what we're proposing, the materials, and so forth. So as you can see on the top left, this is our lodge. This is the heart of the hotel. This is where we serve the hot breakfast in the morning, and this is also where we serve evening like hors d'oeuvres, salad, beer, wine, Monday through Thursday. And on the bottom is a calendar where we rotate all of our menus for each week. So this is a typical Homewood Suites guest room area. We're proposing 129 rooms. Of 129 rooms, only 16 rooms are one-bedroom suites. All the rest of the rooms are all just the studio suites. So on one side of the room you have the bed, and the other side you have a sleeper sofa. On the bottom right is the 16 suites where you actually have a separate living room with a sofa, and then there's another bedroom that has the king-size bed. So obviously, because it is an all-suite hotel, it does have a kitchen component to the room. It does have 2 small 12-inch burners, does have a microwave, a dishwasher, and a 15.5 cubic feet of refrigerator. This is a huge component of our hotel also. We actually have a quite extensive sitting area outdoor with an outdoor fire pit, 2 grills. We actually have a pretty decent-sized swimming pool with a lazy river for the kids, and we also have a basketball court in the back. The fitness room, this is a lot bigger than a typical fitness room. If you remember, one of your requirement was, I believe, 600 or 800 square feet of exercise rooms. So it's quite bigger than what a typical Homewood Suites does have. But we do the bigger fitness room because it's just a requirement now to operate the hotel. And then the city required 1,200 square foot of meeting room space, which we're providing. Plus, we're also adding a boardroom to the prototype. So, we've been in the hotel business for 20 years. I graduated in the mid-'90s with a finance degree, grew up in the hotel industry, opened our first Hilton property in 2006, opened up a Hilton Garden in 2010. We're building the True now, which is another Hilton property, and then now we're proposing the Homewood Suites. We truly believe in the Hilton brand, and we got really excited. If you remember, we actually purchased this site back in summer of 2015. We didn't rush to, we wanted to do hotels, but we wanted to make sure that we're doing the right kind of hotels. So we waited. When we got the opportunity to do the True, we jumped on it. And with all the development that's going on around 635 and Beltline, with all the corporate headquarters that are moving in Cypress Water, we were able to get the Homewood Suites brand. Because if you remember, there's a Homewood Suites on 114 on Esther's. There's another Homewood Suites in Grapevine. So obviously, when you apply for hotel brands, the impact study comes in. So with all the development that's happening on 635 and Beltline, we feel like just the exit itself is enough for not only our True, our Homewood Suites we're proposing, probably 2-3 more hotels, who knows? But there's that much development that's going on because we're so these are. So I wanted to kind of give you an idea of what a typical Homewood Suite guest is. So transient business is 1 to 5. A guest that stays typically 1 night to 5 nights, we consider that a transient guest. Basically, that's just like any other hotel that operates, including 4 Points or our True, the Aloft that you all proposed on 121, so forth. So this is probably about 70 to 75% of our business that stays in our hotel are all transient guests. Wanted to kind of give you an idea of what a transient guest that we would consider. There's a huge government travel that happens throughout the week. And they stay 1 night, 2 nights, they come Monday, check out Thursday, come Sunday, check out Thursday. And the second biggest component is the national and corporate companies. This is the heart of the hotel. This is Tuesday, Wednesday business. And this is majority of our business. They come in Sunday, they check out Thursday, they're here for meetings, internal corporate travels, small corporate trainings, so forth. And then the last component is we have the DFW airport. Obviously, we're going to have a shuttle service, so we're going to have plenty of guests. They'll be, staying for 1 night, catching a flight, early morning flight, stay at the hotel and leave, so forth. So now this is the extended stay guest component. I wanted to give you a really good idea of what is our extended stay hotel guests are. Our hotel does not operate where we advertise. So, like a corporate relocation. So what happens is if you're moving to the area, you started working for 7-Eleven, let's say. You're coming in here, so now you need temporary housing, so you find a permanent housing, so the companies will pay for their corporate relocation. Second is corporate trainings. Sometimes pilots come in for trainings for 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time, so they're staying more than 5 nights. Corporate renovations and technology is, let's say a company like a local company, we had a company right now in Trophy Club that's upgrading their distribution center. So they were bringing in brand new technology. Well, they brought in a bunch of about 25, 30 people to kind of install all the equipment that was required, so they stayed as a group. And they stayed for 25 nights. So that's what corporate renovation. The last thing, family relocation. So when we built our Homewood Suites, one of our first guests was a couple who was retired, and they were building a home in Westlake. Well, their home wasn't going to be ready for about almost 3-4 months. So they stayed at our hotel while their home was being built, and then they moved into their home. And the second family is if you're an existing family that lives in the area and you're doing renovations to the house, then you need a temporary housing. That's where families are using our hotel as an extended stay hotel. So our extended stay is kind of broken down into 3 categories. Somebody who's staying 6 nights to 13 nights, 13 nights to 29 nights, and then 29 nights and 30 and above. If you're going to be staying at our hotel for 30 nights, the cost will be around $4,000 or more. So, since we've operated a hotel for 2 years, and not a single guest has used our hotel as permanent housing. We operate our hotel as an upper scale, high-end hotel. It's just not being used as where somebody's using it as a permanent resident for more than a month or extended period of time. And then lastly, why Homewood Suites? Well, Homewood Suites is a very successful Hilton brand. They have very high standards of the kind of product that we have to build. And then some will argue, well, the success of a hotel depends on what's inside the hotel. Well, because Homewood has strict standards, we have to build a very high-end upper scale building. Second, if you remember when you guys changed from type 3 to type 2 building requirement, we can't do any more wood frame buildings. We have to do metal and concrete. So it's a very high-end quality building. Our Homewood Hilton application franchise agreement is for 20 years. And with the building requirement of it being a steel and concrete building, so that building's going to be around for a long time. So at the end of the 20 years, we're able to renew our license by doing a complete renovation, and they typically grant another 15 years of license. There's actually 2 Homewood Suites right now, one in Addison. That is actually an exterior corridor, 2-story old wide-based hotel, and they actually got approved for another 7 years of license because they are doing more renovations. So they're already into their 25th year. So what I'm saying is that the success of the hotel depends on the brand and the loyalty power. That makes a hotel success. And then with your development code of type 3 to type 2, you can't just go build another, just a simple mid-scale extended stay hotel, because financially it's just not feasible. Let's say if I wanted to build a Studio 6, which is a Motel 6 brand, you just can't do it because financially it's not possible to build that kind of hotel, especially with the minimum of 129 rooms and the steel and concrete building. I would be happy to answer any questions you have, and my partner Ken and Travis are here also.
Thanks for the presentation. Very helpful. We have a question from Brianna.
Well, thank you very much for the presentation. I appreciate it. I'd actually like to call for executive session to seek legal advice from our attorney on this particular matter.
Turn. Council has returned from executive session. The time is 8:59. Comments or questions? Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. After one of the things I was thinking today is I really need a little bit of time to think things through, and that previous application does go back a number of years, and memory takes a minute to reconstruct. And the one thing that was clear is from the time that when we reviewed that previous application, we have revised our hotel ordinance, and it has changed substantially, and to our best ability, we've revised that ordinance, and I do believe that it addresses the previous shortcomings. So I really don't believe that we have an issue with that. Those issues have been addressed. Further than that, I do believe that the land use for this application is appropriate. And in addition to that, I believe that being created as a planned development, that will protect us for our future as well. So with that being said, I don't find any reason to oppose this application with the conditions set.
Any other comments? I'll entertain a motion then. Councilmember Mays.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I better get the number right here. I move to close the public hearing and approve item number 12 with conditions.
Here a second. Roden second. All in favor?
Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
All right. This evening, Mary Perone Boswell is going to help us with items 13 and 14. She is a senior planner for our wonderful city, and we're glad to have you up here, Mary. Item 13 is a public hearing, and would you please read it into the record, Mary?
Item 13 is a public hearing. It's consider approval of PD 214R8-C, Arbor Manors Office, 3 Denton Tap LLC. A zoning change request from PD 214R2-C, Plan Development, to attach a detailed site plan for a 3,035 square foot building on .701 acres of land located on Denton Tap Road, approximately 400 feet south of West Sandy Lake Road, at the request of 3 Denton Tap LLC, being represented by Cates Clark and Associates LLC. This particular piece of property is sandwiched in between the McDonald's and the Schlotsky Cinnabon site. It is part of a larger 29-acre site, which has basically been developed with Arbor Manors. It is one of 2 remaining commercial properties within this original PD. It is, as you can tell, an irregularly shaped parcel. The portion outlined in blue is the developable area. The other portion outlined in red is all access easements. So approximately 45% of the site is undevelopable. There's another remaining section that is already developed. You can see in between the red, there's some existing parking and landscaping along Denton Tap. So this particular PD, they're proposing to build a 3,035 square foot spec building. They've parked it based on medical use. So they're proposing 18 parking spaces. They would have 3 points of access, one up on Sandy Lake, 2 additional access points on Denton Tap. And they would have to replat to extend the fire lane out to Denton Tap. This is an infill piece of property. It's a very tight, you can see it's an irregularly shaped property. And with a lot of these infill developments, there are some variances that would be requested. So this particular piece of property, they're requesting 6 variances. One is to allow a 10-foot setback versus a 30. To have the landscaping be based on the developable portion of the property, which is outlined in yellow. To keep the existing parking islands and landscape buffer on Denton Tap, which is roughly 9 feet versus a 15-foot, which is typically required. And this lines up with other developments in that area. Along the rear, the landscape strip versus a excuse me, goes from about an 11 down to about a 6 and then back out again versus a straight 10. When you look at the actual amount of landscaping that's required versus what is essentially provided, they're actually providing about double what is required, just in a different configuration because of the site constraints. And the last issue is really a technicality. There's a screening wall requirement between the commercial and the residential adjacency. There is already an existing screening wall in place. You can see down on the screen, there's a 6-foot masonry screening wall all along this area. And then once it gets down in this area, there's actually a retaining wall with a screening wall on top of it. So somewhere along this area, it's probably closer to 9 or 10 feet in height. In terms of the facade of the building, they are looking to do brick with a cast stone wainscot around the entire building. They will have some canvas awnings and a metal canopy out front. They're going to have some transom windows in the front to allow additional lighting. We did send out notices within 200 feet and within 201 to 800 feet, and we received no responses. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of PD 214R8-C, subject to the following variances and conditions. So the PD conditions, A, photometric shall comply with city requirements for residential adjacency. B, to allow the landscape calculation to be based on the developable area of the lot. C, to allow the existing parking tree islands along Denton Tap Road to remain as is. D, to allow the existing perimeter landscape strip along Denton Tap to remain as is. E, to allow a variable landscape width from 6 to 10 feet along a portion at the rear of the property. F, to allow a 10-foot setback in lieu of the 30-foot setback on the southern portion of the lot. G, that all signage must meet ordinance requirements. Keeps going. H, mechanical equipment shall be screened. And I, a letter of intent to maintain the screening wall along the common boundary of this property and adjacent residential neighborhood. Our manner shall be in place prior to permits being issued for this site. That the applicant and the residential HOA shall have a document filed at the county indicating terms and responsibility of each party. It's my understanding, just wanted to explain this one a little bit, that the applicant has reached out to the HOA regarding the maintenance of the wall. It's also my understanding that I think right now they plan on maintaining it themselves. So we're waiting on a letter from them to basically state that. Number 2, that there may be additional comments at the time of building permit and detail engineering review. 3, that the replat of Lot 3 to add easements must be approved and filed with Dallas County prior to construction. And number 4, removal of existing access easement that currently runs through the portion of the property. That's the end of my presentation. The applicant is here as well and is available for questions.
This is a public hearing, and we have 3 folks who have signed up to speak. Ashley, would you read the first name?
Daniel Stewart. Are you? I believe they're the applicant. Are they the applicant? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Stewart. I am the applicant for this case, and we agree with everything staff presented. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You mind indicating your address?
14800 Quorum Drive, Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Happy to answer any questions. I'm the applicant, so staff did a great job of presenting. Mary did answered, I think, everything, all the issues that had come up. So happy to address or answer any comments or questions you have. Sorry.
Any questions? Yep. Go ahead, Wes.
Yeah. So in your discussions with the HOA, who's going to be paying for the legal documents that are called out there?
Well, right now, we have reached out to the HOA. They were going to send us an email to have something in writing this afternoon. We didn't ever get that email, so we're going to follow up with them and try to maintain that. But what they're saying right now is that they do not want the owner of this property to maintain the wall at all, that they want to keep that maintenance within the HOA. So we'd have to work with staff on what is required there. I don't know that we would really need anything filed of record at that point, but we could work with staff on what would be appropriate documentation to show that the HOA would maintain or continue to maintain that wall.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
More speakers.
Yeah.
One more, sorry.
One more. Okay, excuse me.
Thank you.
Well, yes, thank you.
Cameron Lejeune. Okay.
Hi, my name's Cameron Lejeune, 8214 Westchester Drive, Suite 550, Dallas, Texas. I'm with the owner of the property. I don't really have anything to say on top of what Daniel has said so far, but just want to say thanks to Marcy and Mary. They have worked with us for probably 3 years trying to get something done on this property, and I think we've come up with a site plan and a property that I think works and we're gonna bring a great tenant to the city of Coppell, and we're excited to get going on this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there are no others, okay, I turn it over to the council. I can go either way. I know, I certainly am. All right, you hadn't said anything in a while. Gary, speak up.
That's a first. I guess my concern here is that this development just doesn't seem to fit with what's around it. We've got retail, and then this office that just seems to be squeezed into here. I don't know there's a lot we can do about that. I think that's more a factor of how this parcel was developed to begin with. It just seems like kind of an odd use in the middle of all this retail. I've always thought that parking lot there was a little weird. So I guess leading up to the question, the setback, a 10-foot setback for commercial for us is pretty minimal. You don't show on your exhibit the, I guess it's Cinnabon that's to the south, but their parking, the building, this building is not up against their building, but is up against their parking, correct?
Sorry. So here's the parking that's on the Cinnabon right here.
And their
here's the
building is
drive
to the
aisle.
south of that?
Their building's approximately over here.
Yeah.
Because you could drive through and around the back.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Wes.
Thank you. Mary, could you show on this diagram that southern setback is from 10 to 30 feet? Explain, walk me through that one, please.
Sure. So typically the setback on the side here would be 30 feet. So this is right at 10. So if you were to go 30, where's my finger?
Well, you'd almost be in the Schlotsky's building.
Well, this is the proposed building. So this building wouldn't really exist. It would probably be, I think this area here is probably, is it 60? I'm not sure.
I got it. That's kind of what I suspected was going on, but okay. So second item, it was, gosh, I had them labeled.
Mm-hmm.
It was about the landscaping behind the building. Is that just that large area that's kind of undefined at this point?
So everything in green here would be the landscaping. Typically, there's a 10-foot perimeter through here. It necks down to about 6 feet, somewhere right around here, in order to provide the parking back here. So if you were to put this 10-foot here, you would essentially eliminate all the parking in this rear area.
Okay. I did not understand parking was back there. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah.
That helps.
So the whole, sorry. So it's the same thing with the parking up front. So if you were to extend the parking islands or the landscape island or the landscape buffer here, you would eliminate the existing, I think, 7 parking spots here, as well as I think there's another 5 or 6 back here. So essentially, you're eliminating the parking and you're eliminating the types of uses that could go in there. So with, if they've parked it so that it maxes out at 18, so you could fit in a medical office. Otherwise, you could do an office, which requires like 16. Actually 11 or retail. So they've parked it so that they can, maximize. They could get a medical office in there. Worst case scenario, they could fit a retail or a typical office in here. But the 18 allows them the flexibility for more tenants.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Mark.
Not a problem.
Councilmember Hill. Speak. Go ahead.
Can we look at that south elevation of the building? You're saying that's 10 feet off the property line?
Yes.
Okay. And then those are fabric awnings, you said?
I believe they're fabric awnings, and then there's a metal canopy out front. And on the, here and here.
Yep, Mary, just to clarify, we're not proposing any fabric awnings on that building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's just an element of the facade, I believe.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's just the metal canopies on the three sides. Or two sides, sorry.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion. Councilperson Yingling.
Thank you.
You have the floor.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to close the public hearing and move to approve item number 13 with conditions.
Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. In favor, none opposed. Motion carries.
Item 14, consider approval of PD 205R3-HC, Vista Ridge Edition, Lot 3R, Block D. A zoning change request from PD 205R2-HC to PD 205R3-HC to amend the plan development to attach a detailed site plan to allow a 6,520 square foot medical building on 1.39 acres of property located north of the northwest corner of SH 121 and Plaza Boulevard at the request of George Mitchell, represented by Elaine Pickering, Baird, Hampton, and Brown, Inc. So this particular piece of property, just to put it into context, is close to the Market Street, close to the Coppell, City of Louisville city limit line. It's basically the last piece of green space on that Plaza Boulevard, or second to last piece along the Plaza Boulevard side. To the west, you have Market Street, Coppell Market, Bank of America, Whataburger, Trusted ER. North, you have some offices. To the south, you have offices and the Coppell Surgery Center. So this original PD was approved in 2004 on 7.7 acres. Right now, you have these two lots that are remain vacant. It was approved to be combined back in 2005, although that did not occur. So what they're proposing for this piece of property a 6,520 square foot medical building. They are requesting to replat lot 3 and 4 into one lot, so removing the existing lot line. There are several points of access to this property. One that runs north-south, which is existing. This would be a new access point onto Plaza Boulevard, and then there's a subsequent access point onto Plaza Boulevard that is also existing. The majority of the parking is internal to the site, so we did talk to the applicant. Originally, they were proposing, more parking up in this area. We asked them to push it internal to the site, leaving just some parking here for this entry point. In terms of landscaping, the site is 40% landscaped, which exceeds our requirement. On the east side of the building, because this is a medical clinic, that portion of the building will have examination rooms, so there will not be windows. So in order to dress up that facade, they are adding additional plantings on that side. They are saving 2 10-inch live oaks to the north of the site. And they are planting an additional 18 trees on the site. Oops. In terms of their elevation, the proposed building is constructed primarily of brick, with some elevations also incorporating cast stone, stone, and ephes. The roof will be flat with a parapet screening of any roof-mounted equipment. There's a variety of architectural elements that balances the use of the brick and stone, including banding, the use of awnings, articulation of the elevations, which makes it compatible with other buildings in this area. You can kind of see that a little bit better with the colored renderings. In terms of their signage, it is a registered logo, so they have other sites throughout the Metroplex. They are proposing to have individual channel-mounted letters, which does meet our ordinance requirements. We did send out 5 notices within 200 feet, another 9 within 201 to 800 feet, and we received no responses. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of PD 205R3-HC subject to the following conditions: that there may be additional comments at the time of building permit and detail engineering review, that the replat of lots 3 and 4 must be approved and filed with Dallas County prior to construction, and that all signage must meet ordinance requirements. That is the end of my presentation. The applicant is also here available for questions.
This is a public hearing. No one signed up for the public hearing, so I will turn it over to the council. Yeah, it doesn't sound like there's anything. Councilmember Hill. Yeah, very good. If Bob makes it all the way to the end, you can make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing and approve item number 14 with conditions.
Okay. Second by Councilmember Mays. All in favor?
Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. In favor, none opposed, motion carries.
Item 15 is a public hearing. And for this public hearing, we're going to allow Ashley Owens, our able secretary for the night, to read it into the record.
The other able secretary is going to take care of that.
What?
I know. I apologize.
Change.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council.
Oh, God.
The other side of the dais.
Good evening. Good evening, Crystal. It's nice to see you. What a surprise.
I know, it's a new view. So tonight I'm going to ask you to consider approval of a resolution granting a variance of 20 feet to J.C.'s Burger Bar, Coppell, from the 300-foot prohibited requirement for the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption, with the business address being 170 West Sandy Lake Road, Suite 100. So MW Restaurants is opening a J.C.'s Burger Bar in the new development there by Sprouts. Their variance is 20 feet from Coppell Montessori Academy from the property line. And so public hearing notices were placed in the Advocate newspaper on the 21st and the 28th. While this is new development, there have been previous variances approved in that subdivision, in that development there with Mi Cocina and Senior Locos. And the applicant was the former owner of Fat Daddy's Restaurant. And that is all I have, and I'll answer any questions.
This is a public hearing. No one has signed up, so I will turn it over to the council. You up.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just think this is a situation where I think we ought to always protect schools. That's the reason for this ordinance. In this case, the school kind of plopped down right in the middle of a retail area, so that becomes difficult. So I think this is a reasonable approach. I think it would be difficult to limit that development there to non-alcoholic uses. So I would support it.
Councilmember Mays.
So I'd like to add, I agree with Councilmember Roden, and in addition to that, we already have two other facilities that have been also approved. So to me, it's to his point, it is a good use of the facility. So therefore, I would move to close the public hearing and approve item number 15.
Have a second? Okay. Councilmember Roden. All in favor?
Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, motion carried.
Right. Kind of moving on. Unless somebody's changed up on me, Mike Garza will do this presentation. He's the Assistant Director of Public Works for the City of Coppell. We're certainly glad to have you here. Mike, do you belong here? If you do, would you mind reading the item 16 into the record?
I will do. Thank you. Item number 16 is to consider approval to award bid number Q08-18-03 Hunterwood Park Bank Stabilization Trail Project to Joel Brown Company in the amount of $964,047 as designated in CRDC fund balance, and authorizing the city manager to sign any necessary documents. Thank you, Mayor, Council. Item 16 is a project that we've been working on for a little while now. This area is over in the Hunterwood Park off of north of Bethel Road and south of Dillard and Anderson. You can see here, this is a little bit zoomed in detail of where we are. Dillard's to the north, Bethel Road's to the south, and that is Hunterwood Park. There's a cul-de-sac park playground in that area. Over the years, we've experienced erosion in this park. In about 2011, the Parks Department did an erosion control project with gabion walls along the cul-de-sac, backing up to the park to protect the playground from eroding. And throughout the years, we've been keeping an eye on this project to get some additional erosion control, bank stabilization going to help reduce the amount that's occurring here. So in March of 2017, City Council approved the design of the contract for this project. And earlier this year, we bid it out. We received 6 bids. Joel Brown was the lowest qualified bidder. The contract is for 89 calendar days. What we're going to do is there's some storm drain extension to the creek with a trail over the top of that. We're going to recreate the natural trail that's in there with limestone, crushed limestone. And we're also going to do some gabion walls and bendway weirs and install some vegetation, including live staking. Now, it's a little bit different than things we've done in the past. The bendway weirs and the live staking is more of what they call bioengineering. It's a more natural type of bank stabilization that we've been looking at doing, and this is a prime candidate project for this. What it is this is a bendway weir. So essentially what it is, it's a protruding object into the creek that redirects the flow away from the bank of the creek in order to minimize erosion along the banks. So what that does is it pushes the velocities and the flow towards the center of the creek, meanwhile depositing material behind into the bank so that it recreates the bank that was once there. So we'll be using, instead of, on this picture here on the bottom shows these rocks. These are just large rocks dumped there. We're going to be using recycled traffic barriers, those concrete traffic barriers that you see. They'll fit perfectly in our project here, and relatively inexpensive, and it's a great use to use those. So what it does, we'll just stick them kind of like there's a certain angle and certain calculation you do to put them in there, but it redirects the flow. You use them on the bends, as you can see here. That's where the bend, as the flow comes towards here, it'll hit this wall and it starts eroding it away. And so as it makes that turn, it'll redirect it towards the middle, and then it'll help protect that bank. Forces velocities to the center, and then reduces bank erosion. The other thing we're going to do that's different that we haven't tried to use before is live staking. And what that is planting dormant trees into the banks. As you can see on this top picture, this is when they are planted. As an example, they get planted into the banks, and as they grow, the root system grows quickly and is able to hold that bank together, so we don't see that erosion. It provides stabilization, and it protects the banks from failing. And so these are several methods that we are going to use along this creek. Along with gabion walls in some locations, and then and mainly around the storm drain is where we're going to use the gabion walls. These areas will be throughout the creek to keep it natural and keep it fitting in with the park. Again, the project duration is 89 calendar days. The cost of construction is $964,047, and the lowest qualified bidder was Joel Brown. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Garza, there's lots of discussion in town about bank erosion, et cetera, the last few years. Help us understand the difference in this project and some of the other projects that we've been asked to be involved in.
Certainly. So this project is a city-owned property. It's on a city park. Hunterwood Park is wholly contained within City of Coppell-owned property. The creek meanders through the property. So the portion that we are repairing is within city-owned property. Most other creeks in town are on private property. We do have, Wagon Wheel does have a portion of a creek in it. Grapevine Creek Park has a creek, and then Hunterwood Park is another one that has the creek. And so these creeks that are on the city-owned property, we are required to maintain the flow of the creek, the erosion, and any of our infrastructure within the creek.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I move to approve the agenda item number 16.
Councilmember Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mike.
She'll have to do this again.
Hmm?
She'll have to let you do this again.
Oh, yeah. Killing me. All right, item 17. Kevin Richardson's going to make the presentation. You're going to read this into the record, or would you like me to, Chief?
I'll be happy to read it.
Okay.
Item number 17.
Yes.
Consider approval to enter into an agreement with Gallagher Construction to provide for program manager services for the construction of Fire Station number 4, the relocation of Fire Station number 1, and a fire resource storage facility in the amount of $403,000, and authorizing the city manager to sign. So the fire department, the improvement plan that's been authorized is well underway. Give you a quick update on some of the status of how that's going. The funding has been authorized through the bonds. The land acquisition for both sites as well is in progress. We have identified an architect, and it has been approved, who has initiated design. Just recently, I'm proud that we received a grant this week in the amount of $2.9 million to assist with the staffing. That was good. And then tonight, we're here requesting to authorize the program management services as the projects get underway. So we had a committee that comprised of several city departments. We reviewed all the RFQs and then interviewed 3 finalists before selecting Gallagher Construction Company. Gallagher will provide services related to design, value engineering, management of design professionals, construction manager at risk, coordination, project tracking and documentation, construction administration and inspections, substantial completion, acceptance, and closure of each of the fire station projects. And so we're familiar with Gallagher Construction Company. We have several projects that we're familiar with in the city, including one from the fire department. So we're excited to try to bring them on board. Just for reference, the service fee is equivalent to 3.25% of the total cost of the project. So at this time, I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Gary.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I guess my first question is, what did Lance do to get pushed all the way to the bottom of the agenda? He must have made somebody mad.
He's been busy working other projects. This is the soonest he could get here. Yeah.
My first thought was, man, this is a lot to program manage a couple of fire stations, but then doing the math at 3.25% spread over 4 years, even more so, I think is justified. So I'm supportive.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I move to approve agenda item number 17.
Do I hear a second? Brianna. Councilperson Brianna. Second. All in favor?
Okay. Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill. In favor. None opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Didn't turn it on? No. Item 18 is mayor and, no, it's not. It's city manager reports. And we have a city manager, so we're ready for your report.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. This evening, just a report on several items. First of all, Freeport continues construction. I believe last time I reported that there were some utility conflicts that had finally been resolved. Never mind the rain that we had today, this week, that we expect the contractor to be out working on the piers in that particular area, so progress continues. The parking lot at the Senior and Community Center continues to move forward, and I believe this Saturday is Taste of Coppell. No, not Taste of Coppell. Farm to Table. farm to table. And just to let everyone know, because of the parking situation, hopefully things will dry out and it won't be raining, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. But we're going to be parking on the grass for the excess parking. Now that may change between now and Friday, and we may figure out something else because it looks like it's supposed to rain on Saturday again. Food truck frenzy was this past Saturday, and we had approximately 1,000 people who showed up, and I believe it was finally called at about 7:30 as the weather started to move in. So we were able to finally pull. That was the first event that we've had on a weekend since July 4th celebration because of all the rain. So. And then lastly, the ramp closure that has been announced regarding 635 from Royal to westbound LBJ will occur again tomorrow night from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. So they will be using that route that we've previously shown you as far as Royal is concerned. So, Mayor Pro Tem, that is all I have to report.
Thank you, sir. Item 19, Mayor and Council reports. I have a couple of reports. Election Day is November the 6th. Early voting begins October the 22nd and runs through November the 2nd. Town Center will be the early voting polling location for Dallas County residents. The last day to apply for a ballot by mail is October the 26th. See the City Secretary's election webpage for polling locations and times. Get out there and vote. Kaleidoscope, a celebration of cultures, will be held on October the 20th from 5 to 9 p.m. We're celebrating the cultural diversity of our community through music, dance, art, food, and more. We always have food included in all of our city events. To get involved or to learn more, check out the Kaleidoscope page on the city's website. Secondly, we'll have a report from Councilmember Mays on the North Central Texas Council of Governments, fondly called COG.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. You did better with that acronym than I do. So I was not going to report on all 83 different activities going on with COG, but the big one coming up on October the 24th is they are hosting Tex 21, which is a regional quarterly meeting. It's going to be held in Garland, Texas at the Atrium. That is Wednesday the 24th from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. They're going to have a number of speakers talking about drones, innovations, automated vehicle programs with the Federal Highway Administration and COG, as well as a very special speech from the Senator Bob Hall. So with that, I turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Wes. Item 20, public service announcements concerning items of community interest with no council action or deliberation permitted. Anyone have anything? No. Okay. 21, necessary action from executive session.
Mayor Pro Tem, thank you. As a result of the executive session, I would ask the council to consider a motion to extend the letter of intent by and between the City of Coppell, the Coppell Economic Development Corporation, and Main Street Limited, and others for a period of 62 days to December 12, 2018.
Council's pleasure.
I move to approve the item from executive session.
Councilmember Roden. All in favor?
Hinojosa Smith, Mays, Long, Roden, Yingling, Matthew Hill in favor, none opposed, motion carries.
Mayor Pro Tem, that's all the action out of executive session.
Was off. Mercifully, we are adjourned. Wait a minute.